I'm live. Grateful day. Welcome to the 98th episode of the Faith Forward Fearlessly podcast with your host, Jenée Hudson, the Uplifter. Woo! All right. I empower professional entrepreneurs to overcome toxic environments and self-doubt, to take decisive action, lead boldly in identity, and to persevere, all anchored in faith. Now, before I dive into today's very special episode, please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Faith Forward Fearlessly podcast, hosted, of course, by me, Jenée Hudson, where you can watch, you can like and share every episode. The link is in the bio, and it will be in the episode's caption as well. All right? All right. So, time for the shirt. Today's shirt says, "Walk by faith, not by sight." That's today's t-shirt. And pretty much, for this t-shirt, it's a reminder that to walk by faith and not by sight means to trust God in every circumstance and simply not to go by one's own wisdom. And for an entrepreneur or just someone along their journey, this means to have an inner determination, confidence, and hope that drives the courage to act and walk by faith in creating a new journey, such as even a successful business. That's what this shirt is a reminder of today. All right, you guys, I am so very excited. So this is the perfect transition into today's topic called Faith Meets the Facts with Kendall Hudson and the courage to heal and walk in wholeness with Fran. Futrell. But to start, allow me to share two eye-opening statistics. So first, a 2024 Pew Research report found that 68% of adults say it's hard to tell what's true online, yet over 59% turn to digital platforms for their news and for personal development. And second is a recent Gallup poll, and it was revealed that 71% of Americans say that their faith helps them cope with life's difficulties. But nearly half, you guys, admit that they struggle to actually align their faith with their mental or their emotional well-being. Wow. You know, sometimes life brings us face to face with hard realities, facts that challenge our faith. They expose us for what we've been doing and avoiding, or reveal where we've just been silently struggling, right? But you know, what happens when faith meets the facts? What happens when our belief collides with what we actually see, right? What we feel and what we can no longer deny. That's where the true growth begins, is when faith doesn't ignore the facts, but instead it transforms how we actually respond to them. So excited. You guys, in today's episode, we're bringing together two, not one, but two incredible voices who simply represent both sides of that equation that I just spoke about. The pursuit of truth and the path of healing through our journeys and just simply through life, right? But listen, let me just wish you first a safe and blessed happy Halloween, because that is today. And you know, the kids are out there getting their candy and stuff. So Now, though, with all that said, I am so excited to inform you of today's first and very special guest edition. And because what? It is Halloween. Yes. As he shines a light on untold stories, uncovering hard truths, and gives a voice to those often forgotten. Today, I am honored to introduce our esteemed guest, Kendall Hudson. But first, let me tell you how amazing and debonair he is. Kendall Hudson is a digital media editor, researcher, and college graduate who has successfully lived in and conquered the Big Apple, you guys, New York City. He studied abroad in France. So therefore, yep, he speaks French and is an emerging investigative journalist. For 3 years, he has produced and hosted the acclaimed true crime podcast called When the Lights Go Out. Yes, recognized by leading voices in true crime and the true crime community. Now, entering its 4th year, woo, that is spectacular. Kendall is expanding to show into like a full audio visual experience to bring audiences close to the stories that captivate them. I am so excited, you guys. And get this guest is actually going to be right beside me today. So, woo, how phenomenal is that? Please join me in welcoming the phenomenal Kendall Hudson. Woo! Yes. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today.
So amazing. All right. So, let me see here. Well, first of all, thank you for being here on my podcast. I really do appreciate you. So welcome. Now listen, first, before I actually get into the questions with you, I just wanted to first just ask you, where can the audience actually, follow you and things like that? And if you would just like to say something more about yourself, you can do that, including something spectacular I hear is coming up for you in December. So that'd be great if you want to. All right.
Definitely. Thank you for, first of all, the introduction. And I also like to say hi to everyone. I personally have gone through a lot in the last year, like she has said, in terms of coming around to, exploring New York, which is a big change for me. I'm personally from Michigan, so going from that to, a big city like New York was a huge change for me. But as of always, I'm blessed to be able to done that. And now, focusing on going a different path. I actually, aside from my podcast and from what I do being digital media journalism, will be able to be a full-time reporter. So I'm very excited for that. And on top of that, just be able to do raw, hard-hitting investigative reporting aside from just reporting breaking news in general. So that will be very, very exciting for me.
That is wonderful. And would you like to tell the audience who this is going to be a reporter for?
Yeah, so I'll be reporting for ABC Montana for Nonstop Local. And that will be a very, again, exciting experience. And a lot of feels have been, coursing, I think, through my body for the last week and a half of just being able to sit in this moment, be blessed, and just think about how this is going to impact me going forward. Also, to go back to your question before, you can follow me, on really any platform in terms of, social media. I do a lot of shorts and such for video content. So you can follow, it's at WTLGO Podcast. You can follow that at YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all the things. And aside from that, if you want to listen to full episodes, which I do audio based at the moment. You can find me pretty much on any platform that has any streaming podcasts. So that is Spotify, Apple Music, TuneIn, Amazon, anything really. So definitely.
He's out there, you guys. That is fabulous. And congratulations with your new position as a reporter for ABC News. Very proud of you. All right. So to guide our discussion today, here are 3 giftful questions for Kendall that I am so eager to continue exploring with our esteemed guest. So let's get started. You ready?
Let's get into it.
Okay. So the first gift, question number 1, is, okay, Kendall, so as a creator of the podcast that you have, right? Yeah. When the lights go out, you've built like a platform that dives deep into like truths behind real life strategies. So how has your faith influenced you in the way that you actually approach those stories, and especially when the light seems dim?
Definitely. And I think that's a great question. I think for me, going into investigative journalism in general has been a whirlwind of just emotions, because of course you're telling a story on part of someone else. And so that can get very dark and it can definitely feel very heavy. But at the same time, I think it is very important to be able to speak that kind of, truth into the world. I think we live in a age now more than ever where people do invite true crime into the world, whether they feel that, they can carry their faith still or whatnot. And I think that's truly important. Now, for me, my faith is how I sculpt my shows and my episodes in general. I think that, first of all, making sure that I'm making room to stay respectful and being very curated towards what I'm talking about is important. Again, these are real people. These are people who have families out there, whether it's a story that came from, from the 1930s to today, someone's going to have family in the background. And so it's very important to make sure whatever I'm putting out there is not super, negative, or I'm not harping too much on, the victim. I'm making sure, the victim is being shared in the light that they should be. Wow,
that is amazing. And we appreciate all that you do, and to just be sympathetic to others, especially that have the family members that are going through the true crime. Yes. So such a blessing. All right. So on to question and gift number 2. So gift number 2 is, in order to actually assist other entrepreneurs or just others along their journeys, and just everyday people throughout their journeys, transitioning your actual podcast from like audio to full video, I'm sure that takes courage, which kudos to you, and vision, right? So what has the actual process taught you about like perseverance, storytelling, and just trusting God's timing and the creative journey?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's also a really good question. I think for me, especially being such a young person, especially for whether, especially more the youthful people, that the youth that are coming in, at least, that are taking apart a lot of these roles in terms of media, things like that, or just in general, just entrepreneurship, like having your own business and such. We're also looking at like the kind of aspect of like, hey, are we able to, carry on with what we're doing? Are we able to stay consistent? Things like that. Right. I think that just comes with patience. I think for me, that is saying a lot because I'm a very impatient person. Oh. I feel like I have moments where I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want this now. I really think that this could be, this or that. But I think after time has come, I have really just sat with myself and thought, Kendall, you really just have to be patient with yourself. Just trust the process. Just know that it will work. God has a plan for you and something will come out of it. So.
Yes, and I totally agree with you that consistency is key in everything that we do. Wouldn't you agree? Definitely. Yes, and you're not alone. I want it now too, and yesterday, and 2 years ago. So you're not alone in that aspect either. All right, that is so phenomenal. All right, so last but not least is gift number 3. So, Kendall, your work often like uncovers hidden truths and untold stories, right? So how do you protect your own like mental and spiritual well-being while like investigating difficult topics? And like what advice would you give to others along their actual journeys that are also like called to shine the light in dark places?
I think this might be my favorite question. So I believe that it is first and foremost, and I put this first in anything I do, whether it's full time, whether it's me making, some money on the side, whatever it might be. I think the first thing to always remember is you need to put yourself first. Put yourself and God first. Yes. I think that it is important, especially with what I do, to feel like I'm getting people's stories out. But, in being able to tell their stories, I have to be able to take care of myself. Because who is going to take care of you if you can't take care of yourself, right? And I also believe, that it is very, very, very important to remember that, with a lot of things that are difficult in certain, life decisions, things like that, you're just staying true to yourself. Yeah. I think that's what really gets you through a lot, because if you really can be your best, best friend, best guidance, things like that, it really does help. And I think that it does take you far.
Yes, so phenomenal. Thank you so much for these amazing answers to these questions. I am so grateful, you all, to have Kendall as our first special guest tonight. And he's like the addition today, just so you know. Kendall, is there anything that you would like to share to being the first guest today, or just like about yourself, or a motivational word to others, the audience that are just going throughout their journeys?
Yeah, I definitely believe everyone that's watching tonight, just make sure to stay true to yourself, because we live in an age, and we live in a time where it is hard to be able to stay on float, or be able to stay on par, get things done. I like to think of myself as someone that does work hard, and I do believe that a lot of others too, but we all are human beings. We all feel depleted. And going back to some of the questions that were asked, I also wanted to just add that it's very, 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 very important to keep in mind that this too shall pass. Yes. And she's told me that many a time. So
I did that.
Definitely. So
all right. That is so, love that. And especially that last part. I'm always telling them this too shall pass. So, because it will, you guys, no matter what we're going through along our journeys, in life, just personally, with a companion, without, this too shall pass. So always keep the faith. Yes. Yeah, well, Kendall, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Yeah. I appreciate you.
Definitely.
And of course, I love you.
And y'all, just take it easy, take care of yourselves, and you have a blessed night, y'all.
Yes. Thank you. All right. That was such a special, that was special for me, you guys. Okay. Many of you already know why. All right. So now we are going to just keep going for our other spectacular guest, you guys. I am so excited. All right. So next, you guys, I want to introduce to you our second special guest, as her passion for helping others to heal runs deep. Know that. All right. So, all right. Today I am honored to introduce our esteemed second guest, you guys. Her name is Fran Futrell. But first, of course, let me just tell you how amazing she also is. So Fran has an MA, an LPC, and is a licensed professional counselor, you guys, and founder of Your Mental Health Matters LLC. All right, where she provides individual, couples, and group therapy, you guys, with over 12 years of experience across private, public, and residential settings. Fran is passionate about helping others to overcome life's challenges with integrity, compassion, and authenticity. You guys, she has a master certified grief informed professional. Wow. She draws from her own experiences with loss to support others in healing. Fran is also the author of Counseling is Not a Cuss Word. Yes. She serves on Virginia's Health Equity Steering Committee, and she hosts weekly Facebook Lives and those actual talks promoting mental health awareness and education. That is phenomenal. She lives in Suffolk, Virginia with her husband, Deontay. I hope I said that right. Where they serve together in ministry. How phenomenal is she? I love this. Please, you guys, join me in welcoming the phenomenal Fran Futrell. Yes! Let's get her on here. So excited. I'm gonna move up.
Hey everyone,
Yes!
it's so great to be here today.
Hi,
First of all,
Fran.
hey Jenée, I just want to tell you, you nailed the names. So just know you nailed it.
Thank you. I was like, oh.
No, you did. You nailed it. You nailed it. Futrell is the last name, and my husband's name is Deontay.
That
Nailed it.
is
Nailed it.
phenomenal.
Nailed it.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome,
Thank you
Francis
so
and or
much.
Fran, you
It
guys.
doesn't matter. And I'll tell you a little bit of history about the name as we go forward. So yeah, whichever
Okay.
way. Well,
Well,
yeah.
you know what? This will be perfect then. Feel free to expand more about yourself
Sure.
from whatever I've said, and how can people contact you? Let's start there.
Absolutely. So, thank you again, Jenée, for inviting me to be a part of the podcast today. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to share in this space. And I'm really grateful for the opportunity to connect with you, and appreciate how engaging you are with your audience and just how excited you are about what you're doing. It really translates, and I really hope that
Aw.
those that will watch it today would feel your heart toward what you do. So,
Aw. Thank
my name is France. Actually, my full name is Frances. So Fran is a shortened version of that. I was actually named about after two of my two grandmothers. One's middle name is my first name. The other one's first name is my middle name. Interestingly enough, in doing a little research about Frances, I wanted to know what my name meant, and it means one from France or one who is free. Interestingly enough, I get to help the people to be free mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in every aspect of their lives. And so how fitting is that, even though they
you.
thought it was cute to name me after my grandmothers, they really didn't know that they were pegging me as a disruptor in a good way.
Oh,
So,
love it.
yeah, I am really grateful for just my journey and being able to be in spaces where I can share about how my journey has led me to a place where I can also help other people on their own journeys. So, as far as contacting and connecting and staying in touch with me, I am. You can follow us on our business website, which is ymhm.org. So www.ymhm.org. That's how you can stay in touch with us. You can find out a little bit more about what we do. We are in the process of updating some things because we're growing. So if you go up there another time, you'll see our updated version. But for now, you'll be able to contact us if you're interested in our services. As far as our social media platforms, you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at YMHM at YMHM LLC. And another thing we're excited about is our YouTube channel. We actually have a YouTube channel as
All
well. Now,
right.
you're going to have to spell it all the way out now. Your Mental Health Matters LLC. So you're going to have to spell it out. But we also have a YouTube channel where there's content and videos there where you can be encouraged and empowered with different topics that we have shared there. I am excited about the healing space as well.
Yes.
That I will share in the comments with I think I may have already sent it, but I will put that in the comments because I'm really excited about that. It's a coaching and training program for different spaces of life, for particularly for grief, for ministry spaces, for corporate and business spaces, as well as for educational spaces that teaches people how to be balanced emotionally and mentally. And I think about all the different benefits that we can gain from just having a little bit more balance, so I definitely am excited about that. So that's another area where I'm trusting that you may find, just some, insightful um, programs that may be helpful for those different spaces. And it's also available for an individual, on an individual basis. So it's not just the group settings, but you can also engage in that coaching program on an individual basis. So I'm definitely excited about that. So I'm happy to be here. And again, Jenée, thank you for having me today.
You are so welcome. And I've put some stuff in there too on Fran, you guys. So, you can get that information.
Thank you, Jenée.
So, such a blessing. Again, thanks for blessing the podcast today. So, similar to our last guest, to guide our discussion, here are 5 giftful questions that I am eager to continue exploring with our esteemed guest, Fran Futrell. So, let's get started. You ready?
Yes, I am. Let's go.
All right. So, gift question number 1. So, Fran, your passion for mental health began early, it seems,
hmm
even in middle school, right? So, what personal experiences or defining moments shaped your actual commitment to helping others heal throughout your journey?
Oh, so just right off the bat, when you shared about the middle school experience, I remember being in um, probably about fifth or sixth grade, and there was, of course, when you made better grades, there were certain opportunities you got a chance to take the part in. So
Mhm.
this peer mediation program was a piece that I got to engage in as a part of the gifted and talented program at my school. So what it was just our peers, a group of peers, students that were helping their peers to resolve conflicts in the school setting. And from there, I fell in love. As a natural part of who I am, I've never been a person that likes a whole lot of hoopla and a whole lot of uproar. I like to laugh. I like to have fun. So when it's not that way, I'm just trying to figure out what is going on. Why do we have to have all this craziness going on in our space? And even at home,
Yeah.
I'm the oldest of 7 kids and the only
Wow.
girl. So, of course, I knew we were going to act like that I didn't contribute to some of the chaos sometimes because I did. But for the most part, I was trying to keep the peace. So even at home, that was just kind of like my natural inclination. Just I didn't like all of that. And so that was one of my initial draws to this space where we talk
Mhm.
about mental and emotional healing and balance. And so I really loved it. I was blessed to start that same program at my high school. So they didn't have it. So I was grateful to be able to start peer mediation at my high school as well. And I just really saw it help people. Kids got lessened consequences if they got into fights or different conflicts and things at
Mhm.
school, or they even were, not sent home, or they didn't get the same type of consequence if they actually participated in peer mediation. So just to see
Nice.
it be effective in that way, and to see people thrive and grow even after our school experience, and meet people who maybe came through that program and did it when we were in school, and see how they're living, and see how they're thriving now, it's really been a blessing. Another motivation for me with this operating in this space is just not having people around me when I was growing up to really
Mhm.
understand some of the things in my heart and my thought processes. And then just kind of having a whole lot of things cloaked underneath the religious and spiritual piece, not necessarily addressing the real issue. So, like, I grew up in an experience of faith, religious practice wise, apostolic. So it's very strict. It's very Jesus is gonna fix everything. You don't, you just let him do all the work. It
Mm,
was no teaching on how do we show up well for ourselves. What accountability do we have to ourselves as far as how even we can connect with God even in those spaces. There was no talk of that. I didn't even know anything about counseling until I started, kind
mm.
of pursuing that piece for myself, making a decision to pursue that in high school. So yeah, uh, that's where my heart lies. That's why my heart is so close to this, and that's where it started being shaped.
That is wonderful. I was taking notes as you were talking and things.
Hmm. Hmm.
One thing I want to tell you, the last guest also did peer mediation, so y'all need to connect. He did
That's
that in
so
high school.
cool. Nice.
Yeah, that was just his heart and who he was. So y'all
Yeah,
need to connect.
yeah, for
So
sure.
he knows all about that, especially
Yes.
being in his era, and things
Hmm.
like that. Yep. And then very important, like you had mentioned about that having that self space.
Yes.
That is so very true because like you also, I had to find once I started having a family, what was best for us? You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Hmm.
my grandmother was Jehovah Witness, my mom Baptist, my father Christian. So it was like, but what is Jenée and her family?
Right.
What's kind of best for them? There's only
Exactly.
one God to me,
Exactly.
anyways. But you know what I mean? To fit just me as an individual as well as our families and stuff like that. So that is
Right.
so very important that you would even bring up that point
Yes.
for sure. Man, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right. So we are on to gift number two. So, gift number two is now you often say that counseling is not a cuss word.
Yes.
I love that, by the way.
Thank you.
So, can you share like what inspired that actual statement and why breaking like mental health stigmas matters so deeply to you, especially in like faith communities
Yeah.
and for entrepreneurs just along their journeys?
So for me, I heard so many things about what counseling was. And when I was in school for it, I learned a lot more about what it was actually as it compares to maybe what people might see in the media or on like television shows. And so as I started journeying more into that space, I began to notice that a lot of people had these misconceptions about what therapy and counseling was for, what it was about, who could access services, who it was okay for and who it was not okay for. If you could merge your faith with that, or you had to leave Jesus at the door when you walked in, so you didn't need to go to counseling, just
Mm,
all these types of things around what it was and what it wasn't. And so, um, also people minimizing the importance of it alongside their faith and just kind of like saying, well, I got God and I got Jesus, so I'll be all right. And not really prospering and still not really overcoming, still not really addressing certain things that are deep rooted, like
mm,
traumatic experiences that they may have had, even within the context of a faith-based experience in the four walls of the church. People had experienced some things that were traumatic, and they were still saying Jesus is going to fix it, but there was no challenge for anybody else to help them. There was nobody else being held accountable, and they didn't know how to be accountable to themselves and get the help that they needed because it was frowned upon. You could, even talk taking medication for mental and emotional
mm,
balance. It was frowned upon. It really wasn't a conversation. And so, like, that's what inspired me to um, kind of move beyond what do people say about it and into, well, what are the actual benefits of it? Since we have all these voices talking about what it is and what it isn't, let's just be very clear. So, it kind of being this thing that was taboo, that's where the counseling is not a cuss word piece came in, because when you start
mm,
talking about it in certain spaces, it was just like, ooh, like cringy or something, like, we weren't supposed to talk about it. We weren't supposed
Wow.
to, say anything about counseling. Like it was a bad thing to talk about, to pursue, to reach for if you needed some additional assistance. It was kind of side eyed. And if you did it,
Yeah.
it was like, what you doing that for type
Yeah.
thing. Almost like, when we are growing up, depending on what type of context we grow up in, we always get taught that certain words are cuss words. We're not supposed to say them. And so
Yeah.
like counseling was kind of like one of those words, like if you say it, it's like, ooh, type deal, right?
Yeah.
So
Like,
I definitely that is a big part of what inspired me to kind of lean into that with breaking those stigmas. And I've also seen just counseling be a blessing in my own life. So like it's not even from a perspective, just the perspective of someone who provides the service for somebody else and helps to create that space where other people feel safe. But I've also as a person, right? Because all the other stuff that we do, that's a part of roles. There's a person
mhm.
that God cares about. And as the person that God cares about, I've had my own experience of therapy, of counseling,
Wow.
seeing it be very effective with me addressing unhealthy mindsets, getting to the root of things that are that have been deep seated for me, and like uncovering things that help me to strengthen my confidence, help me to get to know who I am for real and not just be consumed by responsibilities that are associated with the different roles that I operate in life. So yeah, just that's really what sealed the deal for me with like even utilizing that as a book title. So yeah.
That is so very powerful. And so I'm so grateful, like you even are talking about that, or that
Mhm.
we're actually on the show talking about it, because that is so true. Like, it's almost like it was a hidden secret,
Mhm.
or it would be like, well, is something wrong with you? Are you crazy? Are
Yeah,
you, why
yeah,
do you got to get therapy?
yeah.
That type of thing. And it's
Hmm.
so important that along with your journey, your walk with God, all those things, it's
Yeah.
very important. And that makes me think of um, the saying, or obviously, just by way of God, faith without works is dead. You know what I mean? I'm always saying that because, yes, we're going to God for that assistance and things like that. Look, I couldn't do it without God. I am the first one to say God has gotten me through so much, you guys. Unreal. I'm not gonna say unbelievable, but just unreal, because God can do all things that strengthens us, right? But just having that therapy, we have God by all means, but he's like, okay, but he gives us choices, so you still got to help yourself as well. But of course God's got you either way. And so that's
Hmm.
so powerful that you would even mention that, to go get counseling and things like that, but you still stay prayed up and things like that.
True.
So I
Right. Of course,
totally agree with you on
yeah,
that.
it's that matter of not having to leave your faith at the door just because you went to get counseling. And that's kind of how it was, presented. Like almost like if you do that, you got to lay your faith down, and you don't.
Oh no.
I have had very powerful experiences with people in the counseling setting, like to the degree
Mm.
that the presence of God was like tangible in the space and like
Wow.
saying, you feel that? And they're like, yeah. So like, so you don't, it makes it better. Like when you take,
Yeah.
when you walk into the space, having
Mm.
already determined in your mind that this is a space where I can meet God too. This is a space where He can
Yes.
reveal things to me too. This is a space where my spirituality and my walk with Him can be enhanced as I'm learning things about myself, as I'm addressing these old unhealthy mindsets and toxicity in my relationships and lack of healthy boundaries and
Mm.
misunderstanding about who I am and what my identity is. These are all things that can be confronted and faced in the context of a counseling session. Yeah.
Yes, and it is so much needed, especially with the mental and the world of people just in
Yeah.
their mental today. It is definitely needed. And
Absolutely.
that does not mean something's wrong with you, not
Nope.
at all. If anything, you going is helping you out. You know what I
Right.
mean? So in a world, especially today, that whew, it is very different.
Very
So
different.
let
Very
me
different.
tell you, prayer, I feel, helps everything. Prayer is such a strong thing. And I'm not, again, trying to make this about just that, but it is what it is.
Mhm.
So God first for me anyway.
Yes, me
So
too. Me too.
yes,
By
love.
prioritizing him in, even in my whole journey, like in,
Mhm.
even being able to offer this service, by prioritizing my relationship with him, I've seen his favor show up for me in spaces with, resources that I would share, with things
Mm.
right in the middle of a session that I could share with somebody and it really resonated with them. There's been times where in the middle of a session, there'll be something that God will give me to share with them. And
Yeah,
then it will be for me too. So I'll even tell them, I'll say, hey, hold on, let me write that down because that's for me too. So
that part.
like,
That's
right?
right.
So God has the ability to transcend
Oh,
anything, right? His presence, his knowledge, his wisdom. He can transcend whatever it is that we think is so great and so amazing to the degree that whatever he does, it can fit
mm.
for everybody. It's not just one side, it's not just one person getting the benefit of it in that space, even though I'm the one that's providing the service.
Yes.
It's still like he can speak to everybody. He can do something for everybody. And so
Yes.
that's how amazing, how big he is, how vast he is. So I found from my personal experience
Mhm.
that I can't move without that.
I know that's right.
Every day it's an invitation. Holy Spirit, allow your manifested presence to be in every space that I'm in. And that
Yes.
includes
And
the
he
counseling session.
utilizes us all.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I'm grateful for that.
Yeah.
Yes. I love this. Okay. Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
All right. We are moving on to gift number 3. So, gift number 3 is, you know, as a master grief informed professional that you are, you navigated like personal loss while guiding others through theirs. That
Mhm.
I can only imagine being difficult, right? So, how does faith play a role in like helping people build after grief, which
Yeah.
comes in many ways? I know it for sure and personally, unfortunately. So,
Right. So just to add a little bit backstory so people have a clear picture of what this has looked like for me to
mhm,
be able to navigate it while while I'm also serving them. I've had major losses in my life. Um, and with those losses, one of them being one of my brothers passing away, it was literally like in the middle of my master's degree program that, I was getting close to the end of my master's degree program when he passed away. And so, like, I had to still go to school. I had to still go to work. Ended up having to stop going to school. And and going to work, I was going to work with people who had their own mental health challenges, like, whatever that was, if it's in home services where I'm going to people's homes and working with them, I had to still show up in those spaces and so faith I found stepped in where the natural ran out. Like when I didn't have anything else to tap naturally. I couldn't rely just on my skills. I couldn't rely just on what I had learned at school. I couldn't just rely on the strategy. I had to rely on God giving me the strength to do what I needed to do, to take the next step, to get back up again after feeling like I was getting swallowed. Like literally for like 2 months after my brother passed away, I felt like I was walking around like a haze for like 2 months.
wow.
I just couldn't focus. Like I couldn't get anything together. And I still had to do all these other things that pertain to life. And so sometimes, naturally you just ain't got it. It's just
Yeah.
not when that grief hits, it's almost like it snatches everything from underneath you. And it's just like you almost find yourself laying on your back with it. And so when you get there, though, that's not where you have to stay.
Hmm.
um, I have a grief group called Just Keep Swimming. And the idea is that even in the midst of grief, you can still learn how to stay afloat. You don't have to be drowned by your emotional experience with grief. And so faith reminds us that there is hope and that you don't have to like walk alone through your process. God is always with you, even if you don't like, what has been allowed, even if you don't like the circumstances, if you don't like that you have to grieve, because the real is like the question it becomes, well, why does it even have to be my story? Why do I even have to be experiencing this? Like, why is this a part of my life? I don't even want to be going through this right now. I don't even want to be in a place where I can encourage somebody from a place of experience with this. Because grief is not one of those things that you want to be able to do that with. Like,
No.
it's literally like the idea, one of the biggest pieces that goes along with your faith and how it can help you is that it can help you maintain your hope. That it's
Mm.
not going to stay dark all the time. It's not
Right.
going to stay rough and rocky all the time. You're not going to feel like you can't catch your breath all the time. There may be a space in time where you feel that way, but it won't remain that way. And that just being able to lean into that hope that is in the one that created you. If he's able to continue to give you life and breath each and every day, he is also able to sustain you through that
Mm.
experience, surround you with the resources, surround you with the support, surround you with the love, the comfort that is necessary to
Mm.
help you to
Yes.
navigate it in a healthy way instead of you just drowning in it.
Yes. That is, oh, I love it. I could just listen all day. We could talk about this. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
this.
yeah.
I am so big on my faith. Obviously, my podcast is called Faith
That's
Forward
right.
Fearlessly. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's huge. It is so, having faith is like none other.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have it, how I feel about it, to your point, is you can't really kind of have faith and be like, okay, I have faith in what I'm doing and in God and all those things. And then all of a sudden you're like, but I don't know if God can do it. No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. It's
It
almost like a
requires
slap in
it.
the face to God,
Yeah.
to me. You know what I mean? So if you're going to have it, see it through and know
Mhm.
that He's got you, because He does. I
Right. And
love
it
this.
doesn't mean it won't be tested, right? Because the real is that our faith, especially when it comes to grieving and loss,
Mm,
our faith
yeah.
is greatly tested in that space. Yeah.
Mm,
Because sometimes you got questions about the God that made you and the God that you
yep.
know can do anything, right? So why couldn't he keep them safe? Or why
That's
couldn't he
right.
heal them? Or why couldn't he make the situation turn this way when he's the God that can do anything? So it really can test your faith when those losses happen, but it doesn't change who he is just because you
That's
don't like
right.
how he intervened or didn't. It doesn't change
Right.
who he is, and it doesn't change that he can do anything.
That's
Three
right.
Hebrew boys said, if he doesn't,
Yeah.
we will not bow. We know who he
Mhm.
is. Even if he does it, it doesn't mean he can't. That's how strong
Yes.
their faith was in him. So even
Yeah.
if they lost their lives, they didn't care because their faith was so strongly rooted in who God was, and they were not willing to lay it down just for the sake
Mm.
of their own lives. They said, even if we die, like,
Yes.
he's still God.
Mm.
Even if this consumes us, he's still God. Just because he doesn't do it doesn't mean he can't.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes. And my condolences about your brother.
Oh, thank
You
you so
know,
much.
Fran, I can totally relate. I too had like three deaths that were very close to me, back to back to back in
Mhm.
the same year, you
Jeez.
know. And while of course I had to mourn them all at separate times, like months apart only, type of thing. um but it was a learning through the mourning. But that helped me to even really rely on my faith. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Because I too needed that assistance. And it
Yeah.
honestly, it helped to really, really make me stronger.
Mm.
Although I miss them every day, but they're
Yes.
always in my heart,
Yes.
So
Yes, and that's a piece
yes.
too that you can embrace, and also my condolences to you because those back to back, any
Yes.
loss is tough, but
Mm,
those back to back ones are tough. So yeah, but yeah, when we really lean into this space of faith with when it comes to loss, you don't have to. It's easier to not just quit and give up.
mm,
There's a hope that you have, right? Even scripture talks about we don't mourn or we don't grieve as those who have no hope.
mm.
Yeah. So
Wow.
it's a difference when you actually are leaning into your faith to help you through the process versus if you don't have that or you don't embrace that to help you to
Wow.
navigate it. It's a different experience. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Holy Spirit can teach us how to walk through it when we lean into him and when we invite him into that space. He can
Hmm.
teach us how to walk through it. He can show us
Yes.
that he's with us. He can instruct us even on simple things like day to day, how to take care of our bodies. Like, people
Yep.
don't realize how important that is during the grieving process. And if we're tapped in with the Holy Spirit, he can teach us, he can guide us, he can speak to us. You need to get up, you need to eat, you need to drink some water, you take a bath, you brush. Those simple things, like those day-to-day things, become very challenging when you walk. Can become very challenging when you walk through the grief process, and when you walk with Holy Spirit, He can even give you instruction and prompts and things that help you to just do daily, everyday life things as you navigate that space.
Yes, that is wonderful. And an important one is to be still.
That's true. That's true.
Because I needed a lot of that. Because I'm
Mhm.
just always on the go. Just be still. So, yeah.
Right. Right.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
All right. So, on to gift number 4. So, gift number 4 is, in a world where like entrepreneurs and people in general often wear like emotional masks,
Mhm.
like what's one practical step that listeners can take to start walking and healing and emotional wholeness today, starting today? I'm all about action, so I'm like,
Love it.
start today, don't wait for tomorrow.
Right.
So
The first step is to be honest, because when we look at this mask thing, we learn that in our, especially in our context, in our society, that there's a certain look to certain things.
mm,
Like as a man, it's a certain way he's supposed to carry himself. He's not supposed to cry. He's not supposed to show
mm,
weakness. He's not supposed to show vulnerability. So that gets carried into various spaces where you know that certain situations could evoke or could trigger certain emotional things, but they get taught to carry it inside their bodies. They get taught that
mhm,
they cannot express it. And so even with us as women, there, because we are by our very build uh, called to nurture, right? There's a certain expectation that we feel like we have to uphold with how we exist. We can't necessarily, sometimes people call us the strong one because we know how to handle certain
always.
situations, right? Even I've also often talked to my clients about this. It's like a woman's body is a literal human house
Mm,
by nature. It's supposed to protect things. It's supposed to cover things. It's supposed to, keep things safe. And so there is that idea that kind of translates into the way that we do things. I'm supposed to be the one that helps this to stay stable. I'm supposed to be the strong one. I'm supposed to show up this way. And we can really get into this performance-based living when it comes to our emotional expressing ourselves. So one practical step is, number one, be honest with yourself about how you feel.
mm,
Be honest when somebody asks you, how are you today? Don't give them that jaded, oh, I'm okay, oh,
mhm,
great, blah, blah, blah. No, if it's somebody that you can say for real how you feel, say, hey, you know what? Actually, and even if it's not somebody that you know, you don't have to go into depth with it about where you are. It's not somebody that you have that level of trust or intimacy with. You don't have to go into this depth with them about what's going on, but you can say, you know what? Actually, I'm working through some things today.
mm,
You can be honest. You don't have to go into all the details, but be honest. If they ask you how you are, you know what? Actually, today has actually been a challenging day for me. Actually, I felt sad earlier today. So and so happened, blah, blah. Depending on who it is, will depend on how much you share about what you're experiencing.
right.
Um, and sometimes people need to see that you're not the strong one. And we have to use that strength sometimes as a badge of honor when that was never God's intention for us. His It said, scripture reminds us that his joy is our strength. And so
Mm,
if I'm
yeah.
relying on his joy to be my strength, and I don't necessarily have to be strong in my own strength. So I don't have to
Mm,
rely on that. And so I don't have to carry that weight of holding everything up for everybody else and making sure that nobody sees me cry, that nobody sees me vulnerable, that nobody sees me,
mm,
with challenge. No, I I am an open book. At the end of the day, yes, I do this, I have these things, I've done all this certificate, whatever. But at the end of the day, I still got to breathe and
yeah.
eat and drink water to stay alive just like you do.
Mhm,
When I still got to go to the bathroom just like you do when it's time for that. I still got to brush my teeth every day or wash my face every day just like you do. I still got
mhm.
to put my clothes on, my pants on one leg at a time just like you do. So
Yes.
at the root of it is, our humanity. So be honest. And then I actually have the heal model I'll share the pillars of the heal model, which can actually provide some actual steps that you can implement, people can implement today.
Okay.
One is to honor your individuality. Honor your individuality. Everybody's journey is not the same. Every person is not the same. So you're not required to do anything in life just like somebody else. You're not required to wear a mask just because that's what everybody else does. So honor your individuality. If your grieving process is to take some time away, or processing your emotions is to take some time away from things, do that. Honor it.
Yeah.
If your is to talk to people and process with people, do that. Honor who you are as a person. Honor your individuality. E is evaluate your thoughts. Sometimes our thought life can go way to the left. And before we know it, we're out in left field somewhere. And we have created a whole narrative about what's going to happen next. Who don't like me, all the things. Like, no, we got to sometimes evaluate our thoughts.
Yeah.
We can't just let our thoughts just stay where they are. What's going on in my thought life?
Yes.
What's feeding my thought life? A, assess our emotions. Because sometimes we believe that it's okay for us to just stay in a space emotionally, like stay in that state without necessarily assessing what triggered it and set it off. And our emotions and our thought life work together. So if you don't check one, it's easy for the other one to get out of whack. And as they cycle, it intensifies, each space intensifies with how it's affecting the way that you're behaving or reacting to the situation. So you can find yourself, if you don't evaluate your thoughts and if you don't assess your emotions, you can find yourself in a space where you're reacting to things instead of responding to things. I make a clear distinction between the two because of reaction, two chemicals that collide. There is no space. It literally happens instantaneously depending on whatever it is that's touching each other. Like there's a reaction. It's just happening, right? And that's not how it should be for us as humans, as people, especially those of us as people who are believers and people of faith. We shouldn't just be reacting to things when they happen in our lives.
That's right.
We should be responding. And if we are epistles being read of men, they should be able to see us responding, not reacting. They should be able to see us, grounded. Even if they see us cry, even if they see us, our face and our countenance change, right? Doesn't mean that it shouldn't happen for us because we're still human. But it should not be them observing us just reacting. That's a light to them when they see us. You know what? That did hurt. Wow.
Yes.
But when they watch us walk it out, it should be a difference than somebody who's not leaning into their faith and their identity in Christ. And they're just reacting. So, yeah. Then the L is let go of what no longer works, what's no longer serving you.
I love that.
Because how often do we hold on to things? How often have we held on to masks and things just to, make sure nobody sees us, but that's not really working for us? How often have we built walls and things that, actually serve as a prison for us instead of, just protecting us? So yeah, you can build a wall, but you didn't, where's the door? You can't even get out. You don't got no windows. Like, can't nobody come get you. Like, you hungry.
No life links.
You ain't got no light. It's dark in there. You got no water. You done built a wall. Yeah, you're protected, but nobody can get in to help you either. Nobody can hurt you, but nobody can get in there to help you either.
Right.
So we have to be willing to let go of things that don't work for us anymore. Our thought life, even the way we look at God and our connection to Him when things shift and change in our lives, we go through transitions and changes. We got to be able to let go. Maybe one thing worked in this season, but it's not going to work for the next season. Maybe this worked for your family, but this is not going to work for you. Maybe this works for your job, but this is not working for you.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to let go of it. And sometimes we don't want to let go because we're fearful of change and what the change may require of us. Instead of saying, God, because you're with me, no matter what I have to change, no matter where I'm transitioning to, who I'm becoming, who I'm standing up in myself as, who I'm learning about, what I'm learning about myself, no matter what's
Mhm.
changing around me, you remain consistent. You remain faithful. You remain loyal. You remain the same. There's nothing that changes about your character and your goodness. So because I
Mhm.
can rest in that, I can go with the change. And if you're calling me to change it, that means you've already made provision for me to prosper in whatever other areas I'm supposed to be moving into. Because God
Yes.
does not require any changes of us, anything for us to move, for us to evolve. He does not require that without having already provided resources, without already
Mm.
having the place prepared. Earth, the creation
Yes.
creation narrative is the perfect picture of that.
Yes.
Had the earth not been there, had he not created the animals, had he not separated the lightness, there would be no reason for him to give any instruction for what man was
Mm.
to do next. There would be nothing for him to do. What
So
would he be
true.
subduing? What would he be multiplying? What would be replenishing?
Yeah.
God created the earth first, right?
Mm.
Then he
Say it
created
again.
man.
Yes.
And then before, the part that really blesses me about that is that he gave the blessing first before he gave the instruction.
Mm.
So they weren't moving without the blessing. And sometimes we saying we making all these excuses, but God has already given the blessing. The
That's
blessing
right.
was not revoked after the fall. The instruction was not revoked after the fall.
Mm.
So in some way in our lives, we got to check and see what are we still holding on to that ain't got nothing to do with God's original plan for our lives. What
Amen.
mentalities, what
Mm.
mindsets, what spaces, what relationships are we still holding on to that does not have anything to do with his original purpose for man? He said,
Yes.
he said, um, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it, govern it. That's what the instruction was. That has not changed.
Yes.
But we still sometimes holding on to what mom and dad and them did, or what grandma and them did, or what so and so said about me, how they spoke negatively about me, or what they said about my ability to do my job. In my evaluation, they said this. So that must be
Mm.
you gotta be able to let go of things that don't work anymore. So the heal model: honor your individuality, evaluate your thoughts, assess your emotions, let go of what no longer works.
Yes. Amen to all that. I love that. I love that model. That, that reminds me of what's for me already is. And I know we talked about that on our side note before this, podcast and stuff like that. And what's for you already is. And to pretty much continue to have that faith in yourself by all means and against all odds,
Yeah,
very important. And then it's okay to be vulnerable. It doesn't matter if you're a man, a
right.
woman, a child, it does not matter because we're all human.
That's
And
right.
what's even more important, we're all God's children.
That's right. And that's why it's so important if we're going to promote vulnerability for people,
Mm,
especially us as believers, it is also our responsibility to cultivate spaces where people feel safe to operate in
mm,
vulnerability. Because
yes.
a lot of the reason why people don't is because when they tried to do it, somebody didn't handle that in a way that was safe. They didn't handle it in a
Mm,
way that honored that person's experience, that honored who they are and what they have been through. And so we also have a responsibility to make spaces safe again so that people can be vulnerable.
yes. Very important. Love this. I just whispered that. I love.
We don't need another conversation, huh,
We
Jenée?
are. We are. All right. Okay. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
I love that platform. So phenomenal. All
yeah,
right. So, lastly but not least, is gift number 5. And so that is so, Fran, your work beautifully edifies and unifies the compassion, the clinical insight, and faith, right? So for those struggling throughout their journeys of like entrepreneurship within their 9 to 5s, or just simply in life, right? Because life be lifing for us all, right? And to just reconcile and like the faith with therapy, right? What encouragement would you offer them about the courage it takes to heal? Because that's very important.
I would definitely say that courage has to trump motivation, because you're not going to
Mm,
always be motivated necessarily. But the
that's
real is that when it's time for us to shift and it's time for us to move, we can't do that effectively if we're not healed well. And there will
mm,
come this discomfort first before we make that shift, before we have to make that change. And we can't wait for just a feeling of being ready to do it. Sometimes
mm.
you're just going to have to do it. Like Nike say, just do it. Sometimes you're just going
Cry
to have to
ugly.
go, right? Sometimes you're just going to have to jump. You're just going to have to do it, because if you wait for the motivation to do what you know is next and you don't tap into that courage, then you will just keep standing in the same place at the same time. And we know what happens when we stand in the same place at the same
Mm,
time. A body of water that is moving, it stays fresh, it stays pure, it stays clean. It's collecting the minerals that will help the body to operate well. So when it's bottled, it's healthy for our bodies, right? But if you think about a body of water that's not moving at all, over time, it's staying in the same place. There's nothing flowing in, there's nothing going out. It becomes
mm,
stagnated. And over time, you'll see like algae and stuff start to grow on top of it.
mm.
Things start to, it actually is no longer healthy, not just for human consumption, but it's not even healthy for what's supposed to live there, because it's no movement. And so
Yeah.
eventually stagnation will lead to death. So
Mm.
we cannot allow ourselves to
Remember
just
that.
wait till we feel it when it's time for us to move. You know when it's time for you to move. And
Yes.
your courage is going to have to trump motivation sometimes. You can't wait till you feel it. You're going to have to go. You have to do it, right? And we can't even use, I'm waiting on God,
Mm.
I'm waiting for the Lord. No, you're not waiting for him. He told you already. For some of us, he told us 5 years ago.
Mm.
He told us,
Say it again. 5 years ago. Yes.
he told us 5 years ago, like, let's stop putting this on him. No, you're not waiting for
Mm.
him. No, you're waiting to be comfortable with the move, and it's not going to happen. Growth does not happen with stagnation.
Mm. That's
Stigma
so great.
contribute, and stigma can contribute to stagnation, right? Because
Mm.
you can stay in the same place based on what people have thought about it or people said. It's going to take courage to
Yes.
move when it's time for you to heal. It's going to take you being clear that you're not doing this alone. If you're being
Mm.
called to go, understanding that God is with you every step of the way. So you're not having to rely just on your own strength as you move. So really just go. Just go. You
Yes.
have everything that you need. Just go. Tap into that courage. And this is the thing, as we move, the courage increases. So if you
Mm.
stand
That's
still,
true.
right, if you stand still, you're not going to tap into it. And when it talks
Yes.
about, as we talk about this idea of like movement in our healing process, I think about different characters in scripture where their movement was required
Mm.
as a
Yeah.
sign of their
Yeah.
healing being demonstrated, right? The man at the pool of Bethesda, pick up your mat and walk, right?
Yes.
So
Got to
then
put action to it.
right. He had to have faith, yes, but it also would take courage to move when you know you ain't been able to do certain things for a certain number of years, if you were born a certain way, right?
Mm.
When
Mm.
he encountered the lepers, one of the things he told them. Well, I love that passage because one of the things that I saw that smacked me in the face one time, I was like, man, he didn't even say they were healed. He
Mm.
said, go show yourselves to the priest. So they had to have enough courage to move when he said
Yes.
move.
Yes.
And the scripture says, as they went, they were healed. Their
Mm.
healing required movement. Their healing required courage. Their healing required faith.
Love it.
So, in the process, in the movement, sometimes you just gonna have to go, and it will happen while you're moving.
Yes, amen to that. I
Yeah.
love it. Look, you had me at courage has to trump motivation. Okay. Love this. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You guys, I am so very grateful to have had or to have Fran as our second and special guest today. Man, Fran, is there anything that you would like to share that you haven't already? Just being the special guest today about yourself, or just a motivational word to others, whatever you would like to say, offer. It's in your the balls in your court.
I just want to again thank you for inviting me to be a part of this. And I want to say to anybody who's watching, listening today, you always have a choice.
Mm.
One of the things, that's something that one of my mentors said to me. You always have a choice. You get to decide. You get to decide how you're going to live your life. You get to decide if you're going to see things through. You get to
Mm.
decide if you're going to move or if you're going to stay stagnated. You get to decide if you're going to prioritize your relationship and cultivate your relationship with God and allow Him to lead you. You get to decide
Yes.
what spaces you're in, who's in your circle, where you're going, how you use the gifts, the talents, how you cultivate those things that you've been gifted with. You get to decide. So for the person that's saying, well, always, I need to make sure I need this confirmation. You don't need any more confirmation. You get to decide. You are
Mhm.
grown. You're a whole grown person now. You don't have to wait for anybody else's approval.
Mm.
You get to decide it is time to move. So let's move. Let's move.
Yes.
And I love
Yes.
you. And I love you still, even though it may, I love you still, and God loves you too. And He's not going to call
Mm.
you. He's not just calling you just for kicks. There's something in you. There's more for you. There's more in you. There's more to see. There is more that other people can get as you walk in where you're created to be. So you get to decide at every turn. You get to decide.
Mm. 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 Hallelujah. That's what I got to say. Love this. Thank you so much for blessing my podcast, friend.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Amazing. And we might be doing a part two. You never know.
I'm here. You
Thank
know how to get me.
So, for those of you who missed Fran or even Kendall earlier as a special guest, definitely go back and watch this. But I like to give 3 gifts of my own. So, Fran is going to leave us, but by all means, you can come right back and keep watching because I have just a few short gifts to give of my own. Thank you.
Thank you. You all
Yay.
be well. Much love. Peace and blessing to you all.
Receive. Thank you. All right. You all, how phenomenal were our 2 guests, Kendall and Fran? Man, I am so blessed to have had them on this podcast today. Again, go back and watch them. They gave some great information, right? And just answers and things. Man, I love this podcast. So let's remember to follow and put to action both Kendall's and Fran's wise suggestions. But also, here are 3 of my own short, just giftful, and I like actionable steps for this episode. The first one is gift number 1, and that's titled When Faith Meets Facts, Telling the Truth Without Losing Yourself. Who don't need to hear about this? I know I do myself. So, for entrepreneurs and other professionals, this takeaway is about like learning to lead with transparency in work, your brand, and your relationships. So, in a world filled of like noise and people craving honesty, it is a must, you guys. Therefore, look, don't sugarcoat your story. Just put it out there. It's okay, right? Use it. That's what I'm going to recommend. And just like Kendall shines light on like hidden stories through when the light goes out, and what he spoke about earlier, you too can bring light to your actual narrative by like blending fact-based storytelling with purpose-driven messaging, you guys. So, of course, with this, here are 3 actionable steps to assist you in this area. The first one is to simply just start by developing your, what I like to call, personal narrative framework. And you're going to use tools like Canva Video Suite or Descript. And this is going to help you to like tell your brand story visually and authentically. All right. Second, if you're building your actual presence online, platforms like YouTube Studio and or Substack allow you to simply control like your voice and to build a loyal audience, you guys, based on truth versus actual trends. All of these things are going to help you. And then lastly, use like Google Scholar. It's very helpful. Or Statista, that's what it's called, to back your actual ideas with real data, you guys. Because in today's world, let's be honest, credibility and just that consistency speak louder than charisma. Keep that in mind. All right. So gift number 2 is titled Courage to Heal, Breaking the Silence Around Pain. What do I mean by that? Well, too often we like pause our progress because like we like refuse to acknowledge our actual pain. I've done this way too often, you guys. But we can actually fix what we, or should I say, we can't fix what we cannot face. Wouldn't you agree with that? So, and no longer should we avoid it, because if we just speak out about it, that is what's going to be helpful to us all and to others. All right. So healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means actually like confronting. It also means forgiving and releasing, which is very important so that you can simply just live again, right? You all deserve that. And I know I do. So for entrepreneurs, this simply translates into emotional intelligence and personal boundaries. So you can't lead others if you're going to be running on like unsolved or unresolved, I should say, wounds. Wouldn't you agree? If you can relate, put that in the chat. So when we allow like healing to become a part of like our professional growth, and just how you simply show up differently, man, it's going to make all the difference. Trust me, I've been there. And you're going to feel more grounded, you're going to be more patient, and you're going to stay authentic. And that's key. So to help us with this area, here are some actionable steps. The first one is to simply just start with a self-reflection framework and just simply use journals like the 5-minute journal. You guys, I have a few of those, by the way, or the Bloom Daily Planner. And this is where you actually record your actual triggers and progress, you guys. And you can use this to help you with your gradual, like gratitude daily journals and things like that. And then next, you're going to want to explore therapy platforms, you guys, like BetterHelp. Fran talked a lot about these things. And so these are free resources. Or you can go to Therapy for Black Girls, for the females. If you just need that professional guidance, very, very helpful. And even if you don't need it, share it with someone else who does. All right. You'll be blessed to do that, by the way. And then finally, if you prefer like that self-paced learning, like Fran's own book, you guys, she has a book. I mention it too much, but it's called Counseling is Not a Cuss Word. And it's a, fantastic resource to help you overcome that mental health myths and to build like the emotional wholeness. All right. So you can also access like community discussions via the National Alliance on Mental Illness, you guys. Very helpful. This is something that you could even keep to yourself and just do it for yourself, all right? Or you can look into the Mighty for like ongoing peer support and education. So very helpful with these platforms. All right. So last but not least is my gift to you, gift number 3. And gift number 3 is titled Walking in Wholeness from Survival to Stability. You guys, this is my favorite one, so that's why it's the third one today. And I just want you to know that wholeness isn't perfection, not at all. But instead, it's integration. That's what it is. So it's when all parts of you, faith, logic, emotions, and purpose start like working together instead of against each other, you guys. So like our special guest Fran reminded us, the wholeness is not the absence of struggle, not at all. It's actually the ability to just stay centered and even the overall chaos that we go through, right? So, for many like leaders and entrepreneurs and professionals like ourselves, wholeness looks like alignment between like who you are, what you believe, and who you show up to be in the world. So, with that being said, of course, in this area, I want to give you and provide you today with these actionable steps to help you in this area of wholeness and just to simply help you to keep walking by faith in the right direction. All right. So, number one for this area, this last area, is to simply walk in wholeness. Start by like adopting a holistic health practice and that actually honors both your mind and your body. So you're getting a 2-for-1 for the most part. All right. So you want to use like mindfulness apps such as Insight Timer or Calm. You guys, I use Calm. I love it. And this is going to help you to just regulate the stress that's in your life and just on a daily, let me tell you. And then number 2 is you're going to want to schedule like mental wellness hours is what I call it. Like during the work week, have like dedicated time of rest. That's important. And I'm telling myself that too, you guys, let me tell you. For journaling, or just light activity. It's going to help you. All right. And then simply just integrate tools like Trello or ClickUp to structure like your business, that flow, and just to reduce overwhelm. You guys, big help to utilize these resources. All right. I personally conduct sauna time. Yes, I said sauna and leg compressions because I have a sciatica nerve thing going on for years since corporate world. To my local like health assistance place. I go there every other week. So very helpful for me. And then lastly is number 3. And this is like for spiritual grounding. So like devotionals through like YouVersion Bible, which is free by the way, or mindfulness videos on like Mind Valley can help balance like your overall energy, which again, we all need this, let me tell you. All right. So, you guys, oh my God, this was a phenomenal podcast with my 2 spectacular guests, Kendall and Fran. And this concludes the gifts and amazing input from them. So grateful for them both, man. And I'm, of course, especially grateful to you all, the audience, for always coming, showing up, and supporting. You guys are blessings, and I'm so grateful to you. So just remember that when faith meets the facts, you don't have to actually choose one or over the other. Not at all, right? As faith gives you the courage to face the facts, you guys, and the facts give you like your faith something to actually work with, you know? So, as Kendall reminded us, that truth telling is a form of service, you guys. And Francis reminded us that healing is a journey, not a destination. So, whether you're like confronting a hard truth in your business, along your journeys, or simply just processing the pain in your personal life, or learning to like walk again, you know, after a minor setback. I like to call those type of things minor setbacks. Know this: you are allowed to evolve. You're allowed. It's okay. All right. So you're allowed to grieve. You're also allowed to grow. Show yourself some grace. You're allowed to do these things, all right? But most importantly, you are called to walk in wholeness. If you didn't get nothing else, know that, all right? Because when faith meets facts, freedom follows. As always, you're very much appreciated. Thank you so much for joining me, you guys, on the 98th episode of the Faith Forward Fearlessly podcast, you guys, with me, the uplifter, Jenée Hudson. Man, please continue to follow and share for more ongoing, actionable, inspiring content, and have a blessed Halloween again, on purpose, of course. And until next time, keep the faith, have many, many blessed days, and a prosperous journey on purpose. Later.